Welcome to the 15th episode of Hands Up. When I started this, I really didn't know that I would come to this point, like double digits. And today we are having Deeksha Sharma. The last time we met, she was not an IITian, but now she is in IIT Jodhpur studying computational social science, and this adds considerable academic heft to my silly project which I started. And welcome back, Diksha.
Thank you for having me again.
And for the first time, we're not discussing Dostoevsky,
Yes.
but also your meteoric rise to as an IITian shows that Dostoevsky readers go far in life. So, just tell us about the book we are going to discuss today. And are we doing spoilers?
Uh, let's not do it because the spoiler is a very big one.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, fine. Yeah, tell us about what we are discussing today.
So today we are discussing this book called More Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. And if you have been slightly there on the aesthetic side of Instagram or browsed through any of the bookstores that are there on like footpaths and red lights, you'll see this book everywhere. Especially its part one, Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. It's everywhere. It's situated in a very small neighborhood in Japan, Jimboko. I think that's the name.
Yeah.
Where you have a lot of bookstores, each of which has a bit of specialization. And the people who we are gonna see in this book are all who are readers. They love books. They are people who are trying to find their identity. These are people who are just living their lives, and we are getting a slice of it out of them.
Mm.
So these books are like very cozy, written in a very calm atmosphere. And Japanese literature of this sort is lately trickling down a lot in India. And this is one of the most famous examples, I believe, of this genre that a lot of us have read, and that is what we'll be discussing today. So I really loved this book. What was your idea?
And for context, this is a sequel to the
Hmm.
book Days at the Morisaki Bookshop.
Yes.
And I don't know if I really didn't plan, but there is an episode about the first part of this book as well on this podcast. And you can just, I'll probably link it in the show notes. So I felt it was a fairly decent sequel, and it kept me hooked and all of that. And there is also growth for each of these characters, maybe not to the extent that you would want. Um, but then,
No,
um,
in fact, I ended up reading this book in one go on a train journey. So it
mm,
was definitely something that will hook you, and it would make you want to know more about the characters that you will already love after having read part one.
so also, did you feel that reading part one is mandatory for reading the sequel?
Honestly, no. It would give you a lot of context. It would help you associate better. It will help you pick up better. But as it goes with slice of life, you can grab any slice and have it. You need not go into it with a perfect order. It would help, but I would not say that it is very mandatory to know these people. You will still fall in love with them by the end of it.
So we have not gone into any summary of the story or the characters or anything. And before we get there, I feel, let's talk about this genre, which is slice of life. So, how would you describe it, and like how is it different from other uh, kinds of fiction?
So slice of life, in a way, as the name itself is suggesting, it is only giving you a slice of what's happening. It's not giving you the entire narrative around it. It is not going to give you the whole story of someone's life. It will tell you a part of it, and that part of it may or may not have something very groundbreaking. In some genres, it does have, but in the very specific kind of Japanese fiction that we are talking about, we are basically talking of very normal people who are exploring their identity, who are thinking what sort of relationships they should get into, what sort of connections they have with their family, what sort of hobbies they have. These are people who are finding themselves. That is the very specific subgenre or slice of life that we are dealing with here, and that is something which is I feel very relatable to. my generation, people who are like in their early 20s, and people. Yeah, so slice of life is basically about people who are finding themselves. And for us who are in our early 20s, who are in a similar stage where we are getting our very first or second jobs, we have some heartbreaks on our way, we have some rethinking to do with how we deal with our families. And within East Asian cultures, there's a lot of collectivist, family oriented ideas. So I feel slice of life of this kind is basically about some random days in life that each one of us can have.
And as you said, it is not going to deal with the entire life of the character,
Yeah.
but it only takes a certain few months or a few years of that
Yes.
character's life, and it just explains and leaves it there.
Yeah.
So, do you find that? I mean, did you find this kind of storytelling unsatisfactory because you don't have closure about the characters?
Like honestly, in some ways, I did find parts of this book also a bit dissatisfactory because I expected more. There were certain arcs that I would have loved to have some closure on. But again, as we were talking earlier, like there has to be this understanding. Like as readers, we cannot expect the entirety of it to come out in one day, one go either. So it leaves you wanting more. But I think that's also part of the pleasure of reading Slice of Life.
I think now I think it makes sense to talk about like brief summary of these main characters
Yeah.
and the brief plot of the entire thing. The plot.
So, when it comes to this book, I feel like the protagonist has shifted a bit. In book one, we clearly had this protagonist called Takako, who's basically a girl in her early 20s, if I'm correct.
Disturbances. Anyway, so you were speaking about the characters, right? The main characters of this.
Yeah. See, what I felt was that maybe the main character got changed somehow. See, with book one, we started with Takako, who's a girl in like early 20s. She has a job that she doesn't like.
Hmm.
She has a boyfriend that has some issues. They break up at the very beginning of the book. And
Hmm.
that sets the space where the whole story plays out.
Hmm.
But in part two, by the
Hmm.
time part one ends, we have a lot of focus on Uncle Satoru's life,
Yeah.
who comes in as a sort of a person who allows Takako to be vulnerable, a
Hmm.
person who allows her to
Hmm.
express herself and also find herself
Yeah.
by offering her a refuge both metaphorically and physically.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, he is someone that she is close to, someone she can talk to.
Hmm.
And physically, he allows her into the bookshop, lets her live there for a while, and rediscover that love of reading, and all of that happens.
Yeah. Was it rediscovered or like she started reading for the first time?
Okay, wait, I am confused now here.
Anyway,
I think it
whatever.
was, yeah.
So then you're saying that the main character is shifting across the two books continuously.
Yeah, when we come to the second part, we have the story focused more on the Uncle Satoru and what's happening around him.
Uh,
That is what I feel. Wherein Takako is someone who's moving in and out of his life.
yeah.
Sometimes she's there at the bookstore, sometimes she's not.
Hmm.
But that is how it kind of goes back and forth, with one thing being constant across both the uh, books, which is the bookshop itself.
Yeah.
And both the books are titled that
Hmm.
way as well, wherein the Morisaki Bookshop is the space where things are happening. It's about how days are being spent at the Morisaki Bookshop. So while that remains constant, the human characters kind of shift in and out in terms of who's on the spotlight.
Yeah.
That is what I felt across both the parts. So in second part, I would definitely say it was Uncle Satoru, who's like this bit eccentric, a
Hmm.
bit of a unique personality, someone who's running this old bookshop since ages, someone who has done a lot of weird stuff like roaming around the world,
Hmm.
marrying someone in Paris, and all of that.
Yeah.
So he's this quirky person who has become the central point of her story. And it's good because he is someone I really loved a lot as a character.
Yeah. So I mean, like we can't expect any person who has not read both the books to understand what we are speaking.
True.
But still, I think it's purely meant for someone who has read both the books. And talking about bookshops, like at, towards the end of this second book as well, there is an existential threat for the bookstore itself, which is the center of this entire story, both the
Yeah,
part one and part two.
yeah.
And once you start seeing, the book selling business itself is moving online, and all these independent bookstores, they're going down. Going down because there are not many readers,
Yeah.
and whoever is there, they're either getting PDFs
Hmm.
or they're buying from Amazon or something like that, and they're kind of going away. Like they're kind of dying, fighting to stay
Hmm.
alive, right? So I don't know. Is there any bookstore which you still, love, and some bookstore which has played an important role in your reading journey?
Like honestly, for me, it is not even a proper bookshop actually where I got most of my books from. It is an old man who sells second-hand stuff, and he's still there. Actually, not quite far away from where we are recording.
Hmm.
He's still there in Pushwayar Sector 3.
Oh.
But the thing is that I agree with what you are saying. See, a
Hmm.
lot of people simply are not buying books the same way because Amazon is way more accessible. The curation is way more helpful in Amazon or maybe any store which has like a whole chain around it.
Hmm.
Whereas some random person curating books or finding books through second-hand sources and all of that is not that helpful either.
Hmm.
So in that case, obviously there is a significant, reduction in the customer base that these people have. And on top of it, then comes in the question of money. To be very honest, like
Hmm.
while I understand that we'd love to patronize bookshops and all, but
Hmm.
the thing is that if you are a serious reader, in any to any extent, the sort of financial burden it puts on you is not something that is sustainable for a lot of people.
Hmm.
Then comes the question of access as well. Not every book is available everywhere, so you
Hmm.
have to again think in terms of making the best use of what you can get. So that way, a lot of accessibility is actually built on this whole thing of using PDFs, using online resources, and all of that. So for readers, it is also a bit tricky. Even if they want to support a bookstore, there are certain limitations that then they'll have to operate under, which again are not helpful. So it's sort of a balance which is shifting a lot again due to internet and AI. So
Hmm.
again, like I said, I have that bookstore and I used to visit the Delhi and international book fairs a lot when I was a kid. But now I don't do the same. In
Hmm.
fact, I don't really like what they are offering
Hmm.
because they are going more towards again marketing and all of those things are shifting what they are shifting what sort of books they are collecting, they are shifting what sort of discovery that used to be enabled by stores that's not there again because most stores want more people, and that is why they are also going towards a collection of just very famous books, very sellable books, and
Hmm.
not exactly books that would cultivate a reading habit. So the whole dynamic is shifting, I feel, and it is shifting in a negative direction.
I mean, you're more or less right, but I also see some positive trends.
Hmm.
Because now that I've, I'm regularly visit bookshops. I think bookstores are now moving towards reading
Hmm.
communities.
Hmm, hmm.
Like they're trying to start their own book
Yes.
clubs and try to curate the reading experience.
Hmm.
Especially the bookshop Jorbug
Hmm.
is kind of doing a very innovative experiment around this.
Hmm.
Like they've started this book club which kind of rotates.
Okay.
I mean, there are three book clubs. One is about classics, one
Hmm.
is about food books, and other is translated books.
Okay.
And I've been part of it for the last 5 6 months,
Hmm.
and there've been I've discovered a lot of good stuff,
Okay.
and I managed to read around 10 books
Hmm.
because of this particular book club.
Hmm.
And I've kind of also expanded the palette of books
Hmm.
which I would have never. I mean, I've basically expanded my horizons,
Hmm.
and I also find people to hang out with. Like, I may not become friends with everyone, but
Yeah.
one or two of them I'll probably have a vibe with and maybe
Hmm.
become friends. So that way, your other problem of finding friends in a city
Hmm.
also is getting addressed.
Yeah.
So I think the future for a bookstore would be like curation,
Yes.
like
Community building.
community and curation,
Hmm.
which will keep them alive. But if they remain like a static bookstore, where they're expecting people to just walk in, purchase, and go home, I think that may die
I think that shows
eventually.
up in the book itself actually as well, because
Yeah,
when you see the Morisaki bookshop, it is sustained a lot by people who buy very small amount of books, or people
yeah,
who buy like very low cost books, but they are quite consistent, like they are quite regular. And there are people like Sabu who just come and keep the community alive even if they don't buy anything. So
yeah.
that sort of network is what again we need to
And
sustain.
also, those who are coming to the Morisaki bookshop are also old people.
Yes.
Like they belong to the past
Hmm.
generation, and the
Hmm.
new generation is not coming in and picking up the books. And obviously, we can't extrapolate what is happening in Japan to India because Japan is also an aging population. But it more or less kind of reflects the crisis for bookstores
Yeah, but I think that
almost everywhere.
attitude that Uncle Satoru brings to this,
Mm.
which is that we should not judge a reader, we should
Yeah.
not judge any customer who walks into the bookstore, and he is
Mm.
mostly open to every sort of reader, with the exception of Vada, whom he
Yeah.
dislikes. But he's open to welcoming everyone. That is something I believe bookstores would also need to cultivate in order to get that, because otherwise if you are thinking solely in terms of this is my demographic and this is who I need to appeal to, then you are not going to make it. You need to be more open in terms of who is invited into your store as well, who is a reader.
But I mean, that kind of personalization I've barely seen in any bookstores I have visited. I mean, especially in bigger bookstores, there is a lack of personalization.
Yeah,
There are very few ones where people know you by face and they know your tastes and all of those things. That happens quite rarely.
in smaller ones like smaller bookstores that have some specific niche, that is more likely to happen.
And I can't help but mention that Delhi has a bookstore where people just go to click their profile pictures.
Well, well, reading as an aesthetic and reading as a part of consumerist culture can be a different podcast on itself.
That is true, but I've not seen this in any city, by the way. And I've not seen it in this kind of magnitude. Like, I walk in front of that place and I can always see someone clicking a picture.
I feel like Delhi has a thing like reading is very
Performative.
popularized here. So yeah, there
Is
is
it
a.
popularized or
It
performative?
has been popularized, and that is why it has gained a performative aspect. Like Delhi's book clubs are quite famous. A few, at least a few of them have decent.
What? Which is the famous? I don't
Like
think
see,
there.
Delhi reads. They have like 500 people coming in typically. So there are a lot of people who just want to be there because that is in trend. That is something that a lot of their peers are doing. That is the DP that their peers also have. So they want to do
Oh,
it. So it's part of the culture kind of, and that is what pushes people to have that thing.
but it's a very recent thing, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe 1.5 years.
Recently, it
I
has
went there a
grown.
couple of times, but I was not able to make any friends or even gain a new perspective. Or I don't know. It's not a complaint, but it's probably a because there were no too many people.
Again,
It was difficult to engage.
when it becomes a consumable, you don't really capture the essence of it.
Exactly. I mean, now I would just like to draw your attention to one quote which kind of caught my attention, and it's from the book which I'll just read it out. When I'm sad, I read. I can go on reading for hours. Reading quiets the turmoil I feel inside and brings me peace. Because when I'm immersed in the word of a book, no one can get hurt. This is one of the quotes. I think it's by
Yes,
Tomo, right?
yes,
So, how do you relate to this? I mean, do you even relate to this particular?
I do relate to it a lot actually. Uh,
And how is it that you relate to this? Like,
So for me personally, see, reading was a thing that I used to do since I was a kid. But the time I became a serious reader was when I was having kind of a low point in my personal life.
mm.
Bit of academic setbacks, bit of personal issues. A lot was happening, and that year I think I read something like 70 books.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was I was literally doing what this quote says.
Mm.
So reading does offer an escape, and it is an escape which does not even need you to, physically get out of it. It
Mm.
just mentally takes you out of whatever is troubling you.
Mm.
So when Tomo said this, I actually felt it quite a lot, and I was like, okay, this is the representation I needed.
Yeah.
Because back then when I was personally there, what I basically needed was not be in that headspace. I just wanted to be in a different landscape, different setting, and that is
Mm.
what reading allowed me to do. Like back to back, I could just grab another book, read, and it would
Mm.
let me have some time away from my own life, which I was not enjoying a lot at that point.
Mm.
And even now I read a lot. I read decently in volume, but I'm not reading in that obsessive manner. So I feel
Mm.
like while this is great, but if reading is becoming your escape to that extent, let's take a step back and think as well,
Yeah.
because it sounds very, dreamy. It sounds very great
It's
that
a
you are.
cry for help.
Yes, it is a cry for help. It is a bad addiction as well. It is a bad habit if you are reading that much.
No, no, I would never say it is a bad habit, but yeah, go on.
No, I would say it is a bad habit if you are reading so much that you are you just want to divert your mind for a while is
Uh,
one thing, but you're constantly seeking escapes and back to back you're not even dealing with what's reality.
uh,
Then it becomes a bad habit, sort of. That fine line needs to be there somewhere.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Like, you can't ignore real life by going into the fictional life and avoiding your real issues. But if it is a break where you need some space to step back, take some time for yourself, I think it's still good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but
Have
then
you done that ever?
what?
Escaping?
No, I didn't do escaping as such, but I feel now maybe I'm using therapy language, but I feel reading is a centering experience. Like if you, and I'm only saying this in comparison to other distractions
Hmm.
like Netflix or Instagram or any other kind of addictions like whatever, drinking, smoking, all of those are also escapes in a
Yes,
way. And if you compare with those kind of escapes, reading is
a better one. Yeah.
far better, and it's also a centering experience for yourself. And I don't know if I'm lucky or if it is serendipity. I've always found the answers which I couldn't, which kind of bothered me in the fictional characters.
Okay.
So, I mean, that way I've been kind of lucky, and I would still endorse this escape over any other escape.
True,
Maybe
true.
travel is much better than that,
Yeah.
but for that you need deep pockets. But
Yeah.
then, and obviously, travel requires a lot of planning as well,
Planning, you
and
need time off.
you'll be kind of your routine will be shaken, and if you're working, then obviously you need leaves and all of that. And there's a faster cash burn in travel.
True, true.
But in a book, if you buy with 300 rupees, you can manage for 2 weeks.
Or if you're like me, you can just keep on stealing PDFs.
Yeah, I mean, I would not endorse that, but anyway. But you talked about this second-hand bookstore, right?
Yeah.
It's as if you have found your own Satoru in Delhi. So just tell us about that bookstore, how you found it.
Uh, so actually, my family lived in that area before I was born, and later on I had some relatives there, and then my school was actually on the same lane.
Uh,
So that area is quite familiar to me. That
uh,
specific location where that bookstore is, it's near a mother dairy, and I have sweet memories of going there with my grandmother.
uh,
So later on, when I grew up, I started frequenting that place with my family only to get some, school books at times, and then grab some extra books. Like, okay, let's grab something to read as well. And
mm,
that's how the habit sort of started when I was quite young, maybe less than 10 years old.
mm,
Later on, when I grew up, I used to walk there for my school. Then I
Mm.
used to have it on my way. Then I
Mm.
could check it out, like, is there something new? Then
Mm.
over time, then uncle and we sort of developed a friendship. He
Mm.
kept some books aside for us if we wanted something.
Mm.
He would track down a few books if he would get from his network of other second-hand booksellers and all
Mm.
of that. So it kind of became a bond in that sense. We were just school kids and we used to frequent it because it was on our way, and I had a lot of things in my mind that I wanted to read, and he could get those for me
Mm.
at a cheaper rate than other people.
Mm.
Now that I've grown up, actually, I've not gone to him since a while, I guess. I don't think in the last few months I have even gone there. But I've spotted that place a lot when I pass by that
Is
lane.
it still surviving?
Yeah, it is. It is there. Even
Okay.
today, you'll find it maybe after 4 p.m. It's there, but yeah,
It's on the roadside, is it?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's basically like dwindling for sure.
Hmm.
Back then, when we were in school, it used to have a lot more crowd, school kids and all of that.
Hmm.
But now people are not that into the habit of buying second-hand books, I feel.
Hmm.
People who are readers would want a first-hand copy. And people who are in school, we are putting them in so much pressure of academics and all of that, that I think reading habit is also sort of getting pushed away because parents are like, read something worth it. Why are you
Hmm.
reading this or that? So I feel it is also dwindling. I see that in the owner's eyes as well. Now
Hmm.
that he's there since so many years and he's
Hmm.
seeing the crowd go lower every year, but it's there. Let's hope it survives for a while at
Yeah.
least.
I mean, in this episode, we have spoken very little about the book, and broadly, whoever has listened so far would think that it's about a bookstore, and there's a girl who is in her mid 20s.
Yeah,
She's sort of confused, and she also met a guy, and other things are going on around these two characters, right? Um, so I mean, it feels like a very Bollywoody movie as well in certain sense, and like obviously we are not giving away any spoilers or telling the detailed plot. But do you think this should be a Bollywood movie, like the first and second part put together?
like honestly, it has the ingredients that Bollywood looks for.
Uh,
But I also feel like if Bollywood takes it up, it would be exaggerated so much that it would lose its beauty in a way. But when you put that question out, I thought on it. Okay, so I sort of remembered a few things which can maybe help us. So Shujit Sirkar's Piku is something I really love,
uh,
which I feel is quite there in terms of genre. It is slice of life. It is
yeah.
about a girl who's figuring out her own life. She has a particular relationship with her soul parent, her father. So I feel like that sort of adaptation
Mm,
maybe, big
yeah.
maybe, because I don't want a lot of Bollywood songs in it and all that.
Uh,
But something in that zone, or maybe a Zoya Akhtar adaptation
yeah.
can be there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Deepika Padukone can be like Takako.
Or maybe some young, maybe like that person from Sanyara, Aneet
Wow,
Padda.
seriously? Yeah, yeah. I think she would fit in much better.
Because she's much younger and has
Yeah,
that
yeah.
vibe, and I think in Sayara she carried that, so she can take up that character as well
Wow.
probably.
Yeah. That was not even there on the borders of my mind, by the way.
Okay, who was there then?
Yeah, yeah, Deepika. I mean, as soon as you mentioned Pico, I thought Deepika Padukone.
I feel like Deepika Padukone is a bit more mature. We need
Yeah,
someone who's a little on the Aneet Padda side. I am not sure how to pronounce her name.
yeah.
But yeah,
Anyway,
if we don't have a lot of songs, if we keep it simple and sweet, if we have someone like maybe Irfan Khan to give a
where
good
is
side
it? He's
performance,
dead.
he's there in Piku. I said someone like him. I
Okay,
said someone
okay.
like him.
Oh, okay.
Like
Sorry,
if we
sorry.
have an amazing Uncle Satoru,
Uh,
then it can be done. It can be thought of.
yeah. And I mean, without giving any spoilers, do you think the character growth? I mean, you said you were kind of unhappy with the character arcs or something. Which character arc was done quite well in the second part?
I think it was Uncle Satoru only.
Hmm.
He got a very decent closure, and I felt like the closure was very close to who he was. He was very. It was very true to the person he was.
Mm.
And with Momoko as well, it was a good arc. It was a good thing how it ended. These two, when the first book started, these two were not together.
Mm.
They were on different locations, literally. But
Mm.
how it comes together towards the end of the second book is
Mm.
done quite beautifully, and it shows how they used to be, how it
Mm.
was between them. So I feel like these two got the end that they should have had. The Kako is someone I was not very pleased with, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I still had no expectations at all. I was just going with the flow of it,
Hmm.
and of course, there are some side characters also, and there is some growth in the arc of these side characters as well. And honestly, I think it doesn't make much sense to expect a lot on this plot front.
True.
I think it's more about how you felt like, oh, I'm so feeling so light after reading Slice of Life kind of a thing. Um, yeah, I would say like anyone who would pick either the first or the second part, don't expect fireworks
Yeah.
and some dramatic shifts and turns. Obviously, there are many threads which kind of kindle your curiosity and make you want to turn the pages. But this is not like a dramatic storytelling. It is more of a piku kind of a storytelling.
True.
Yeah, so I think um, that should set the expectation for anyone who wants to read
Yeah, like
this.
if you want something cozy, you have a
Yeah,
day off, you want to have it while sipping your tea or coffee.
yeah,
It's that sort of thing.
and I think I think I've covered whatever I wanted to speak about, and I think you had some other notes, some other interesting points to make. So I would leave it to you to add anything you want to add.
I just have like one thing that I would maybe bring in. That is that we had two female characters here. One is
Hmm.
Momoko and one is Takako.
Hmm.
And both of them are people who are independent
Hmm.
and who are like quite spirited in what they want to do. And I saw that in these two women, we got two models of how people behave.
Hmm.
Momoko is someone who's a doer, who's very independent in the sense she'll take initiatives of what she wants. She'll be very stubborn about what she wants, and
Hmm.
at times that would displease people around her, that would displease the entire society, but she'll hold on to it.
Hmm.
And the Kaku is someone who is a much more younger person who is yet to develop that stubbornness inside her, but she's maybe showing some signs in terms of finding out what she wants
Hmm.
and who she maybe wants to be with, what sort of boundaries she wants to set in a relationship. Those are the sort of questions that are rising in her mind, and I feel like she'd also eventually stop being a receiver of what the world and people are doing to her and take up the role, maybe with inspiration from Omoko, of being someone who leads her own life on her own terms. So
Hmm.
that is a sort of parallel I saw between these two women, and I felt like maybe that development would be there in their lives later on, which we don't have in these books, obviously, but these could be some paths that they could follow.
I mean, that is a very interesting point, which totally I missed it. And I mean, if he writes a part three, then whatever thread you have talked about, both threads may not progress, but at least one of those threads are going to progress. And today we also struggled to find a quiet place to record this, and maybe I'll have to snip out other noises, but definitely we should retain the barking of the dogs towards the end. I mean, really, thank you for taking out this time during your short visit to Delhi and recording this. Hope you had some fun while
I
doing
had a
this.
lot of fun. I always have fun while talking about books, so thanks for calling me for this again.
Sure, then I think on that note, I think anyone who wants to chill on a holiday or a Sunday and finish a book in 1 or 2 days, they can start with the first book, ideally,
Hmm.
Days at the Morisaki Bookshop, and then go on to read the sequel, just for like fun and a feel good, vibe from the author. So on that note, let us say goodbye to the listeners
Yes,
and close this. Thank you.
definitely. Thank you.